Hey MGTOWs, this is Vention. I've finally figured out how to demolish a freaking camper. You can't really cut into it because of the metal siding, but I discovered that if I take my I have this cutoff wheel that I bought at Harbor Freight. It's like a 4-inch cutoff wheel, and you can cut the siding all the way around things like these windows and vents and whatnot, and then you can and go down like the seams, you know, where the rusted solid screws are in, and then you can just peel the siding off of the whole thing, and then you can access things like get rid of the insulation, and then you can start taking a hammer and knocking it apart. So yeah, it took me a couple days to figure that out. So I'm going to continue the demolition today. I'll get the front and the sides off, and then I will start I'll start knocking the infrastructure down and pulling out things like the furnace and the stove and stuff, and I think I'll take those to work along with the siding and dump it in the scrap metal bin. Then I'll take the rest of it, all the wooden components and whatnot, and the lumber that I don't feel that is salvageable, and I will take all that to the dump. So that's the plan. That's what I'm going to be doing with my Sunday. Well, on to Bitcoins. It looks like the people who had weak hands have sold their Bitcoins, and now we've reached a bottom, and it looks like a lot of institutional investing came in right around let's see, right just below 3,000, and then it just like bounced right off that floor and went up to about 3,700, then down, and then bounced again, and it looks like it's as low as it's gonna go. So I'm buying. I bought a little bit, but I'm kind of tapped out, so at least until Thursday when I get paid, and then I'll purchase a little bit more. But man, if anybody within the sound of my voice has not gotten into Bitcoins yet, I highly recommend getting started. Even if you don't buy Bitcoins, I think it's important for all MGTOW and preppers to understand how to use Bitcoin, because there's situations where you might be able to move money into Bitcoins, and then in case you need to escape the legal infrastructure of the country, like Da Vinci J15 did when his wife launched him out of his family, and then was just gonna put the screws down and really harvest everything he owned and enslave him, and he just packed up his shit and moved to Chile. And the family court of Canada couldn't touch him over there. So yeah, I highly recommend learning, at least knowing how to use Bitcoins, and then put something into it if you can, because I'm of the opinion that within about 10 years they'll be $1 million each. I mean, 2017 dollars, however much that is in dollars in you know, 10 years from now. But anyway, man, I am really bullish in that. Other than that, let's see. I was commenting on a video and from this kind of arrogant blonde chick who was saying, where are all the good guys at, right? and I my comment was basically, oh, they're in the friend zone where you left them, or where they've been abandoned, and then I went on to talk about the friend zone a little bit. and what it's like, especially for young men. I mean, I can remember feeling this way. I really can. But man, I am like completely different now. I can't feel any of that anymore. I mean, I was like, when I was a young man, I was like lonely and agonized. I mean, in an agony of loneliness, and it was pretty bad. And I got stuck in the friend zone a couple of times. And this was because before the internet, and nowadays a guy could just punch up some red pill information like a couple of MGTOW videos and learn the dangers of the friend zone and how toxic it is for men, how brutalizing it is for men, young men, you know. And it's like, yeah, it gets really bad. And then I went on to talk about how I am of the opinion that when we're born into this world, we bring a certain amount of love with us, right? We have a certain, it's like a fuel tank. You could tell there's a diesel mechanic talking about this. But anyway, it's like we have a tank, right? And it's like has a certain amount of love in it, right? And if you start wasting that love on people who can't possibly return it, like most women in their 20s, and basically, and of course people online, like I see these young men who leave comments on these female, like these girls' videos, and oh, you're so pretty, oh, you're so pretty, oh, I would like to date you, da da da. It's like, and it's they're sending that regard, that love, that energy toward these women who can't ever possibly return it. And then and it's my opinion that your tank, your fuel tank of that will get lower and lower and lower until it's empty. And then when that happens, there's a part of us, you know, I think there is a part of us which requires a certain amount of love, when kind of like a fish, right, needs water to survive. And if there's no water, it dies, right? And I'm of the opinion that if a young man wastes all of that love, that energy, and sends it away, and it can never return, and it never comes back, eventually you run out. And then when that occurs, part of you can start feeling absolute agony. And then if it gets bad enough, I think that it can die. And then what happens? Then whatever that is that needs that love to survive is dead, and then the person can turn dark, and he can become destructive, and he can become negative and cold, and just not a very nice person. and that's that whole no more Mr. Nice Guy thing. And then they can start getting into the same thing can happen to women to some extent. And it's my opinion that guys in that situation start gravitating toward this really evil, frickin' destructive, gross ass, violent, dysfunctional pornography. I mean, and hey, I am not above watching some pornography. but when it gets really gross, you know, it doesn't do anything for me at all. It just grosses me out. But and women get into that stuff too. It's like in order to get excited these empty-souled people need to see something violent, and in order to get like excited, right? And in order for women to basically see or to get excited, they actually have to have this situation where they are something that simulates rape almost. Like a lot of women have rape fantasies, and they get into this BDSM, and it's my opinion that if there is no love and if they can't experience that anymore, they need something more, some greater stimulation. And in order for that to happen, men need hate, and sort of violence, and women in that situation need fear and need helplessness in order to be aroused. And I think that whole friggin' dynamic is just sad. So, yeah, so I kind of just stay away from that whole thing. They can do what they want to do. So, okay, so to recap, I think Bitcoins are going to be doing very well, and I think 3,700, which is today's price, is damn good. And that if you guys are not into Bitcoin yet, I think you should really get started, because this is there won't be much in the way. There may be better times to get in, but because it goes up and down, but this is a low point, and I'm thinking this is a very good point to get in. And also I learned how to demolish a camper by cutting the siding, and then I can knock it apart. That kind of defied me for a couple days. I was kind of wondering how to crack that nut, and then finally I figured it out. You strip the siding off first, then it should be fairly easy to get at the structure. You can see all this rotten shit, man. That's why I am of the opinion that man, I don't think I'll ever buy another camper again, or another trailer, because they all leak. They all leak eventually, and you can't see the leak until it's way too late. So yeah, I don't think I'll be doing this again. If I do buy another camper, it'll be after I'm a Bitcoin millionaire, and I think I'll get what they call a flip pack camper shell. What it is, it's like a camper, but it has a solid roof on it, completely solid, and then you pull it up where you want it to go. Then you unleash some clips, and then you stick a lever in it and flip the roof of the camper over the hood of the truck, and then a whole big huge tent comes up, and then you can throw a rain fly over the top of the whole thing, and it's a pretty weather resistant, comfortable little place to camp. And then when you're done, you can close the whole thing back up, and it's a camper. Then it becomes a camper shell that is just a little bit taller than the hood or the roof of your truck. Then you can also use the truck sort of as a truck. You can throw a bunch of stuff in there, and it's a pretty darn cool system, if you ask me. And that is the only kind of camper that I will ever buy. So that's the plan. If I go to Cambodia, and I think it's definitely on my to-do list, then once I'm there for a few years, it's quite possible that, in fact, it's probable that Bitcoins will increase to the point where I'll be able to live anywhere, not just in Cambodia. And I could come back to the States, and I could get one of those flip pack campers, and then I could basically go between all these permaculture communities and study permaculture do the gardening and enjoy the seeing multiple different locations and how the energy flows through the property, like where the wind and the sun goes, and how you can capture and store water, and just, man, it's a tremendous technology. So yeah, and then I could do that too. That would be a lot of fun, and I'd sort of pay my way by being a mechanic. So yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. But then again, without the need to work a 9 to 5, and living in Cambodia and windsurfing and eating a bunch of mangoes, and yeah, it's like, that sounds like a lot of fun too. Okay, guys, that's about it, and I think I'm gonna get busy on this thing, and you guys have a good Sunday. Oh, and don't get married.